Oh, are we? Well, you sure are.
Let me try it again. Hello, welcome into B&T Sports Talk Show. This is your boy T, and I'm with my boy B here. And man, we are almost speechless because of the day of football there was today. Just got done watching the game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills in the most just spectacular fashion. That fourth quarter was crazy. I'll just put it like that. And even the game earlier with your boy Baker Mayfield playing for his life. It was really, really great games. Well, first, folks, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification button. We appreciate it. Hit the like button on the video. Hit all three. B, man, this is the first time we're kind of coming off the show right at the end of big game. So we're gonna start talking about the game that just ended, which was KC and the Bills. And man, it lived up to the hype. There was some thought going in that maybe Kansas City, after the way they played down the stretch of the regular season, were not up to the task of playing a Buffalo Bills team that was on the rise, really. There were teams seemingly going in two different directions, with Kansas City going downward and the Bills going upward, which got them into the playoffs. But what does Rudy Tomjanovich say all the time? What did he say? You never underestimate the heart of a champion. That's that for
Or
sure.
heart of a lion. Never estimate a heart of a lion. Or is it champion lion?
It's a champion. It's a champion.
Okay.
Okay.
I knew I was.
Yeah. So yeah. Great game. B, man, what was your feelings on the game? You got a chance to check it out.
This was a slugfest, bro. Like, from beginning to end, the offenses really took control of the game, which was expected. The last two times these two teams have met in the playoffs, they've been absolute shootouts here. Things started picking up in the third quarter as well with these offenses here. But when it mattered most, both defenses showed up. And both during the game, both defenses did everything they could to turn that ball over. Like, it was fumble galore. Yeah. In this game here, you got guys fumbling the ball out of bounds. You had Kincaid playing pinball, throwing it out of bounds, pretty much.
Right.
You know, and so the defenses were putting hats on balls, as the reference would go here, trying to force turnovers here. And luckily, none of the turnovers really hurt some of the teams, except for, I think it was Buffalo, when they fumbled in the end zone.
Yeah, that was Kansas City. So I think when Kansas City,
or was it Kansas City?
Yeah, when KC fumbled. That was Nico Hartman heading toward the end, tried to stretch out the last minute, ended up letting the ball go. The ball ended up going out of bounds and ended up being a touchback. So that was a huge play because they had just engineered a drive to get down there, and really that would have been the end of the game at that point if they had scored there, in my opinion. So yeah, man, it seemed like everything was working in the Bills' way. They got the ball back. They started moving the ball. They had the play you just talked about with the fumble, and Kansas City, instead of jumping on it, the player tried to pick it up, and Kincaid just got his big paw out there and slapped it out of his hand before he could pick it up off the ground, and it got recovered by the Bills. So and then you talked about the game and how it started off being more of an offensive struggle. It was back and forward. It's almost like the defenses weren't even out there. And then when butts got tight toward the end of the game, the defense really, really showed up. Now, the Kansas City defense didn't really sack Jared Allen necessarily, but
Josh Allen,
excuse me, not Jared. He plays basketball. Josh Allen, but he's got a throw bigger than mine. But they made it a point to get some hits on him as we got later in the game. Yes. And they started doing a lot of quarterback runs, which I wasn't so big on, to be quite honest with you. One of them, he got thrown back, and 3 Chiefs hop on him, and the defensive lineman at the very end comes tumbling on top of him into the ground, which I thought would have been a penalty. And then they had that one play where he gets out on the left side. Linebacker comes up. I think it was the linebacker. It might have been linebacker comes up and just smacks him. And so the Kansas City did a good job of really hitting guys and making them feel them. There was one play where Stephon Diggs looked like Stephon Diggs was getting hit so much he looked like he didn't even want to play anymore.
Yeah.
There was one play where the ball came right over his hands, and you could tell he did not want any part of it. Took a huge hit the ground, and was like, "What the heck is going on?" So it's just there was another play with Stephon Diggs. I believe it was also I think it was in the fourth quarter where he was on just like a out or a comeback route on the right side, and he came back. The
Mhm.
ball was a little high. He did not stretch out for it at all, and it was almost an interception. So you got to give kudos to the defenses, the Kansas City defense, really for stepping up at the end there and at least getting it close, so that their kicker could try to kick, so that the Bills kicker could try to kick in the wind and make a field goal. That didn't go very well at all, man.
No,
That was rough.
and that's got to haunt Bills fans because they had a Super Bowl and in the exact same way where the field goal was wide right. I think it was against the New York Giants I think it was in Florida,
Hmm.
in Tampa Bay here, and so that probably brought back some really bad memories. But there was one particular play that really stood out, and it was the underthrown ball by Josh Allen to
Oh, to
the
the
end
end
zone
zone, yeah,
that during that last drive that the Bills had, and I think it was Chris Jones
yeah,
did enough to push the offensive lineman into Josh Allen to make him that slight bit uncomfortable where he couldn't get enough on the throw here because they had who was it? Was it Diggs?
it might have been,
I
yeah, in
think
the
it was
back of the end
I
zone,
think it
yeah,
was Diggs in the back of the end zone. He was uncovered, to say the least here. So that defense stepped up when it was necessary here. Um, but there was a lot of just I think the turnovers were just the biggest thing to talk about here because uh, one bad turnover was really going to change, but also there was no stop to any of the offenses from the defense for 3 quarters here. So that fourth quarter for the first team to get a defensive stop and to get a punt was going to change the momentum of everything, and the Chiefs did that. They got that big stop that they needed to retake the lead here, and I think that's what really changed the outcome of the game here was that first defensive stop from someone.
yeah, absolutely, man. And it was lots. There's a lot to be said about the quarterback matchup between these two quarterbacks who, are
Yeah,
definitely at the top of their game. Let me just pull up kind of the stats here. We can see how both these guys did.
I'll
Josh,
give you I'll give you Patty Mahomes. I mean, I would say, would you say 17 for 23, 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions? That's pretty even to say here in a bad weather game like that. I thought he did a really good job controlling the ball. Josh Allen, Jesus Christ, he was all over the field today.
yeah, he was. I'm trying to pull up the stats here. Let's see if I can get the stats going. Oh, I can't. Where
Josh Allen
are
was
they?
26 for 39,
They
186 yards. He averaged about 4 yards a throw with one touchdown and a quarterback rating of 86. But where he was getting it done was running the ball. But I think to what you said, he ran the ball maybe just a little too much. And you got to trust your running back core. I mean, James Cook.
yeah,
Well, how are we? We're kind of they kind of go away from him
they
every once in
did.
a while here, and it just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense.
And that might be the big difference is the Chiefs didn't go away from the run. They really put the ball in Pacheco's hands in critical moments in the game. And their run game really stood up as the game as the game got as we got deeper into the game. Their running game continued to be relevant and they ran the ball pretty darn well. Both teams ran a good amount. Let's see. So we got 146 yards for the Chiefs, 182 for the Bills, with a bunch of those, I'm sure, coming from your boy Josh
Josh
Allen's.
Allen, he had
So
72 yards.
I mean,
I mean,
he was being asked to do a lot. 12 carries, 72 yards, and
mm-hmm.
he scored 2 touchdowns with his legs, which are really the only two touchdowns that he had there. And then Pat Mahomes on the other end, like you said, 17 for 23, so fairly efficient. 215, nothing crazy. But the real story is Isaiah Pacheco, 15 carries, 97 yards, and one touchdown. So you had your running game going. You had a guy who was out there carrying the load and was playing like a pretty much like a one man wrecking ball, just
He sure was.
running through defenders one after another, bouncing off the ground and getting back up. I mean, the guy was. I mean, he's one of them dudes that just seem like he's got crazy eyes. You know, have you seen what he look? You know, just crazy. You know, just
Yo,
hit five
Pacheco
people,
look
fall, get down,
exactly.
throws the ball on the ground, and then runs back to the line of scrimmage. So yeah, man, he was a man on fire.
Everyone needs to look up on how Isaiah Pacheco runs with anger. Like he puts his head down,
Oh
he don't
yeah,
even look up.
yeah.
He looked like one of them kids who got brand new shoes for the first time and is trying to break them in and just angrily running, but it works and it's pretty punishing. He actually had to come out of the game a few plays
Yeah.
um, with those runs there, but that's dude with him running against the Baltimore's defense and the way they fly. There's going to be some car crashes coming up next weekend here, to say the least. There's
Yeah.
going to be one physical defense to offense kind of thing here. But let's look. You had the Bills. I think I had the Bills going to the Super Bowl. I sure did. So this thing ends today. I would
Right.
I would say your
Well,
pick for
don't
the
feel bad.
Vikings going to the Super
I
Bowl
mean, mine was worse.
ended a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, I still got one dog in the fight, and that's the Chiefs. But as far as my NFC pick, we can go ahead and throw that in the ocean. I mean, there's no reason to bring that up. B.
My
But
bad.
it's all good.
Look, what is Buffalo going to do to get past the Kansas City Chiefs? Because they
What
could beat them
can
in the regular season,
Yeah, yeah,
but they can't. And this was the perfect opportunity. They hosted Kansas City at home with that wild ass fan base, who's just unhinged
oh
with a
man,
lot
did
of
you see all the
with
snowballs?
football,
All the
just
snowballs
flying around.
just being thrown on the field. I mean,
Yeah,
players are catching them, coaches are catching them. I mean, they're worse than like the Denver Broncos fans, but just tossing crap on the field. It was crazy, especially at the end.
and they're so close to the field too. Like the separation from the
Yeah,
corner of the end zone to where the fans sit. It's literally a football player laying down away, to say the least here.
exactly.
Um, so they have a Kansas City problem now, and they got
So
to
is
really take a look. I mean, so do a lot of teams here, but the Buffalo Bills have played them the most when it comes to the playoffs here.
yeah,
A lot of the times it's they've been in these one score games, but I don't think Buffalo. This is kind of like the early '90s when Buffalo went to 4 straight Super Bowls. This is the third straight time they've seen the Chiefs here. What else are they gonna do? They got to if they play them again, you got to beat them. This was the best chance here, and the kicker said,
yeah.
I'm good." It's shank.
Yeah, he did, and there's a lot of things that went the Bills' way that would have helped him win this game, and they just could
Yes.
not get it done. So, I mean, Josh Allen's a great quarterback. Not going to take anything away from him, but we said the same thing about Joe Burrow over a year ago or a couple of years ago. So it's not.
Yeah.
I guess you have to understand that these guys are still young. They're still learning. Remember, the Bills did fire their offensive coordinator halfway through the season. There's still some progression that can take place for these guys to be even better than they are now. But the truth of the matter is, and it keeps coming up again and again, none of them are better than Patrick Mahomes. And so that's the problem. You don't have him on your team. And when you look at, and I mean, let's be honest, it's Travis Kelce and it's Patrick Mahomes. That's it. We've been talking about how bad this wide receiver core has been this entire season. It's the same wide receiver core that's dropped 40 balls. Okay, seriously, if you're the Bills, you've got Stephon Diggs, you got an A1 on your team. If you're the
Yeah.
Bengals, you've got Jamar Chase on your team. You've got a lot of these guys. They have A1 receivers. Pat Mahomes he's got Travis Kelce, true enough, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And believe me, tight ends could do some damage, but they're not gonna tear it up like you would if you had a number one receiver on your squad. Truth be told, just like when Tyreek Hill played for Kansas City. So yeah, man, it's just you've got a Patrick Mahomes problem, and until they figure out how to solve that, then they're gonna be like every other AFC team, struggling to keep up with the Chiefs. I mean, it just
Did you see that pump fake by Patrick Mahomes on that quarterback sneak? on that scramble play when he got
Oh,
to the line of scrimmage and then he did a hezzy
yeah.
on the defender and got him to bite. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? You're not playing
Yeah.
basketball, man. You're playing football. Like, go after
Yeah, it's
him.
like, dude, just
He bit
tackle
on it,
him.
turned into a first down.
Yeah, just tackle him. I mean, there's no reason to bite on the pump. You might as well just go for the body and get it over with. I mean, if he makes the play, he makes the play. But the worst thing you could do is give Pat more time in the pocket, which was one of the big plays where he was able to sort of escape in the
Yep.
fourth. After being pressured, he moved up in the pocket, made a clean throw down to I believe it was what's his name, Scanling. Oh, the guy's got two names. I think it was
Oh,
him.
I got it right here. He's got three first names,
Yeah,
sir.
my bad. But yeah, so he, I got it.
Marquez Valdez Scantling. There
Marquez
you go.
Valdez Scantling. So there was a big play there,
Yes.
and yeah, man. I mean, there were two balls. I would say to start the game, Pat had two opportunities for touchdowns. One to Travis Kelce in the left corner. This was in the first quarter, and then another one on the right to I think that was also Valdez Scantling, where he just missed.
Mm-hmm.
He just threw the ball too high, and they weren't able to get a TD and end up with a field goal. But after that, he seemed pretty well locked in. I don't know, dude. I was really surprised that the Bills really weren't able to make a lot of big plays. They had one throw where I don't think it was Diggs. I believe it was was it Shakur? It may have been Shakur who was way down the field and had he flat out bombed it. No, I think that was Diggs. That was Diggs. Flat out bombed it.
It was.
It hit
Yep.
Diggs right in the right shoulder, and the ball just it just went out of bounds. It's just like this is not what you expect to see from this team, especially from one of the better wide receivers, in the NFL. So it's just for whatever reason they just could not get over the hump and make the plays.
Can we talk about the fan of the game? And it's not who we all thought it was today. It wasn't Taylor Swift because the cameras could not stop putting Jason Kelsey on the
That's
TV
right.
because that boy was acting an animal
Yeah.
watching his brother play. And it started in the parking lot. There's a there's a video out there of him tailgating with Bills fans taking a shot out of a bowling ball to start the festivities to say, and then he's pounding beers in the suite with Taylor Swift, and then next thing you know, he's sitting out there, shirt off,
Shirt off.
screaming outside
Oh
the
man, that
window,
was
jumping
perfect.
jumping out of the suite to go mess with Bills fans. And then the best one out of that was they did a close up of Taylor Swift, but in the background you can see Jason Kelsey's half naked ass just sitting there and drinking a beer.
I thought it was
Yo, that
great,
man,
man. It was
it
it
was
was awesome. It was the best moment because that's what we expected to see was a whole bunch of Taylor Swift shots and pictures and her jumping up and down every time he catches the ball, yay, and hugs and all this crap and to see him after he scored. I believe this was after he scored the touchdown. Travis Kelsey, to
yes.
see him leaning out of the suite with a beer in his hand and no shirt on, literally just screaming, in the TV telecast captures it slow mo. It was perfect. It's what us football fans want to see. That is the
Absolutely.
ideal situation. A
Yes.
overweight guy drinking beer, no shirt on, screaming his lungs out in support. In this case, in support of his brother. It almost felt to me like he was saying, "You know what, Taylor Swift, this ain't your night. This is my night. That's my brother. Okay, he was my brother before he was dating you. Okay, so enough of that. So I'm about to show out. That's what he
Yo,
that's what he did.
that man made a beer can look hella small in his
He
hand.
did. I mean,
I was like, good God.
it's like where did that where that Viking come from? It's just a giant.
Literally, dude, when he was screaming, I thought it was like a Viking ready to take charge in the middle of war. You know what I'm
Hey
saying?
man, if he could have, he would have been on the field playing. I mean, he would have been out there on the field. Oh
Shout
man,
out to Jason Kelsey though, man, for making those camera shots when they were trying to show Taylor Swift, and he took over everything here. So that was fun to watch, man. I enjoy seeing football players act like regular human beings because they are put to this persona that they are supposed to be squeaky clean, right? And
Right.
look, we all know they're not, but you saw an NFL player just being a regular human, which they
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
and that was a good sight to see, man. Like I bet you Jason Kelsey gets down like that when when he's when he's on his downtime.
Oh yeah.
I bet you that boy is wild. And so dude, that was just a joy to see, man. Just an NFL player rooting for his brother, but also letting it fly too. Because I'm pretty sure they ran out of beer because of him in that suite,
Oh
to
man, he
say
was
the
having
least.
himself a great time,
Yes, he
and I'm
was.
sure, you know, Taylor Swift had to be careful of any stray elbows or arms, as he was coming down the aisle there. But yeah, Mel, and she did show up quite. I mean, not I won't say a lot, but they did show her a few times. Obviously, Travis Kelsey scored 2 touchdowns and showed her doing
It
the
was
the giggle laugh and the hug of some random person I've never seen before. So, I'm just glad it wasn't a talking point. Usually, they spend a lot of
mhm.
time talking about Taylor Swift, and this time they didn't really mention her as much. They did, of course, it's a playoff game, so there really isn't. That's not the most important thing, but it's just good to see that it's kind of like, okay, this is nice, but and I'm sure the NFL loves the publicity, but like I don't need to see her every 5 seconds or every time he catches the ball. If he catches a
it
touchdown, maybe, but not every time he touches the ball.
no. I think we only got 3 shots. Now you said it was going to go over 5.
Yeah, I was
I
wrong.
don't think it. I don't
I
think it went
lost.
over 5. And thank you to
It was
Jason
Jason.
Kelsey
Yeah, it was
for
Jason.
for making that happen.
He got the other two. That's what it was. That's what happened.
Yo,
He got the other
that
two.
man was on fire, man. You know what? I can't wait to see what he does Sunday against when he's watching the game at Baltimore here.
Yeah.
The Baltimore fan base isn't as crazy as the Buffalo Bills, to say the least, but he'll be having himself a good time. And dude, that's just so wholehearted to see, man. I love to see stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, so now let's start talking about the next game. Now we've got the AFC Championship locked in. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to Baltimore to face the top-seeded Ravens for an
Yep.
opportunity to play in the Super Bowl. This is going to be a heck of a game, and it's going to be tough. It's tough to call for me, man. I know you're a Ravens fan, so obviously you're rooting for your
Well,
team,
I mean, I hope I am.
but of course you are. But for me, it's kind of like I feel like this is going to be a very good game with two top tier quarterbacks. And it'll be interesting to see how both of these offenses strategize to get score points against these defenses. And we talked about it earlier, where Kansas City's defense was not necessarily, it was more of an afterthought. Coming into this game, this game was going to be more about offensive scoring points, and Buffalo still put up 24 points. But as we saw as the game went on, the defense started to perk up a little bit, and they did a really good job of holding Stephon Diggs at bay. And I'd be curious to see, obviously Josh Allen is not Lamar Jackson when we're talking about running the ball, and so they did a good job of containing Allen a little bit later in the game. However, it's
Mhm.
going to be a tall task against Lamar because he's the type of guy. He's not just a guy who can get up the field and run. He's a guy who can shake people out of their socks too. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kansas City's defense shows up.
Yeah, and so I think the biggest matchup I would like to see is going to be on the defensive end for the Baltimore Ravens here because you may even think about putting a spy between Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen, who are making a name as probably the two top linebackers in the league here. Kyle Hamilton is looking to have a pretty strong game, and he's made a name for himself in the safety position.
Yeah, he has.
Um, Jadavion Clowney had a pretty good game in the divisional. We may need a little more from him to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes to get him out of that comfort zone here.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is for Baltimore to sit tight and not bite on any of these fates here because that's how really Kansas City gets their offense moving here. If they can shut down the run game with
Yeah.
Pacheco, then it's really going to force the hands of those wide receivers that dropped a lot of balls this year. And so I think for Baltimore's defense is shutting that down and forcing Patrick Mahomes to throw a little more rather than using his feet because he's going to have to trust those wide receivers here. But man, there are going to be some train wrecks that are going to take place because they are going to be
Oh
coming
yeah.
downhill fast.
Yeah.
They are not afraid to set the tone to say the least here. So the big thing too is will they get to Patrick Mahomes? It would be nice. But look, with mobile quarterbacks, it's very hard to pick up sacks on a mobile quarterback here. So just making him uncomfortable in the pocket and putting that pressure on him to kind of get a little uncomfortable, and at some point that wall will break where they could get through for hopefully at least 1 to 2 sacks on the defensive end.
Yeah, and you make a good point. I mean, they do need to find a way to stop the Kansas City run game because if Kansas City's run game is going, they're going to be a lot more tougher to defend with the play action, and you know it takes Patrick Mahomes out of the game. He doesn't have to do anything. You know, he could just hand the ball off, pick up yardage. Doesn't have to worry about getting hit, and that's kind of the way Kansas City is going to be successful, especially playing against a defense like Baltimore, where you don't necessarily want to go out there and throw the ball 50 times to try to
Yeah,
to try to win the game against them. And on the other end, you know, Lamar Jackson is going to have to be pinpoint. Um, he's been pretty good. I mean, he hasn't sort of reverted back to, you know, old Lamar where he starts getting a little wild with the throws and, you know, those end zone or red zone
oh yeah,
interceptions,
Jesus.
that kind of stuff. He's been
Yeah,
looking poised. He hasn't been forcing anything. So the question is, will the Kansas City's defense be able to speed him up a bit? Can they make it so that he's not comfortable? And you
yeah,
saw the beginnings of it with what they did with Josh Allen, where they didn't necessarily rush Allen to sack him. They were just pushing the corners in. And that's what they did a lot
yeah.
throughout the latter part of the game. They were just pushing those guards into the pocket, instead of trying to get through and get a sack on them. And I look for them to do a similar thing against Lamar Jackson. Now, will it work? I don't know because again, this is a supreme athlete. This is a little different. But I would imagine they'll probably be trying to do the same thing. They want Lamar to be a pocket passer. They prefer him to be in the pocket and apply pressure within that pocket, as opposed to letting him get around on those edges, because that's where he can really mess you up with the pass
Yeah,
or the run.
and Lamar's been really good as far as developing that passing game because that's always been a thing. A knock on him is the fact that he the his accuracy over the last couple years before this year was pretty bad.
Hmm.
Um, but this year he has improved greatly to say the least. Look, he threw for 3,000 yards,
Yeah,
3,600 yards.
yeah,
You know, it's not something he's ever done before this year. So they wanted him to be a little more active in the throwing game compared to just using his legs. And now, if he becomes a pinpoint thrower during this game, it's going to open up the running game, not only for Gus Edwards, for Justice Hill, but for Lamar Jackson as well. So
yeah,
this he's got to be accurate and he's got to put Kansas City into a pass defense in order for this run game to really open. It generally is the other way where you want the running game to open up the throwing, but for the Ravens, the passing game has to start clicking and real quick here because if they start moving the ball down the field with just the passing itself, that running game will become a lot more difficult to stop with Gus Edwards, Lamar Jackson, Justice Hill than it would be at any other point here. And so I think that's going to be the biggest key for the offense is to get the passing game going early.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think for the Kansas City offense, we talked about it earlier. They've got to continue to run the ball. You know, Andy Reid is a great coach when it comes to scheming and figuring out ways to get guys open. So I
Mm-hmm.
think you will see, you know, you'll see different things. You'll see screenplays. You'll see, you'll see. I think one play they ran, they had two running backs in the backfield. So they're gonna do different things and throw different wrinkles in to try to get guys like Travis Kelsey the ball. And then also look for guys like, although some of these wide receivers didn't play or have had trouble dropping the ball. Rishi Rice, who had an okay game, is another guy who can get loose. Marquez Scandri. Well, I can't remember this guy's name. Good lord, Scandris
Scantling. Just call him Scantling. Just
Scantling.
call him Scantling.
Scantling is an extremely fast individual. The problem has always been is that he can't catch the ball. The guy's like James Jett. So if they can find, if there's going to be one or two plays that you're going to have to defend long, and so you got to make sure as Baltimore's as a defense, they have to make sure not to give up that big play. But like you said, they've got Hamilton back there who has made a name for himself, especially in that game against the 49ers towards the end of the season. Well, I think it's going to be a great matchup, man. I think it's going to be a great matchup. I can't wait for it. All the chips are on the table. KC has a chance to go. Ravens have to have a chance to get back for the first time since your boy
Joe Flacco,
who just played for the Browns not too long ago. Yeah, man. So I think it's going to be a great game, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man. Let's talk about the early game because that was also a phenomenal game. The Lions and the Buccaneers, the Lions in uncharted territory, playing in a divisional game for the first time in a very, very long time, and a Buccaneers team who really just let it fly and almost ended up winning here. I'll let you start with this first, T.
Yeah.
You had picked the Lions to cover, which they did.
Yeah.
What was your initial take on this game here?
First off, we're talking about a city that's starved for success, my friend. I don't know if you've seen the Pistons play lately, but they are atrocious. And Detroit overall, Motor City, it has a very, deep American, hardworking folks, group of people. And they deserve something. They deserve something from the Lions, who have not been able to produce anything successful since Barry Sanders was still in cleats. And man, so to see it's always different when you have a situation like this where a team or a city or a fan base is starved for success. And so when you were watching that game, you heard it, you heard the fans, you heard how loud it was. I'm just telling you, man, it was a really, really cool atmosphere. They got Eminem in there. They playing Eminem songs, and he's in there, pounding his chest because he's excited. And overall, man, I think it's a great, great, great moment for the Detroit Lions. But man, I got to start with Jared Goff. I mean, here's a Bay Area kid, went to Marin Catholic from the San Francisco Bay Area. Well, I guess we can call it the Bay Area. For us,
we can.
Yeah, we can. Who went to Cal, top pick. Played for the Rams. We know the story. Was fairly successful there, but after failing in the playoffs, they booted him and traded him for Matt Stafford, who was on the Lions. Now, the interesting thing is, from the Lions' perspective, they could have very easily looked at Jared Goff and said, sorry, bro, we're going to the draft. We need something young. We're going to start this thing all over again. Because at that point, they were a fairly young team. All the guys we see playing out there, most of these guys are fairly young. They talked a lot about the draft picks, about the Laporta, and then also Gibbs, who had a huge game today. He played very well.
Oh, he did.
I was like, dang, who is this kid? But he was injured for a portion of the season, so I'm used to seeing Montgomery carry a bulk of the carries.
Yeah.
But this guy came in and he's legit. So they've made a lot of great decisions with their talent. They mixed that in with a veteran QB like Jared Goff, who is having the season of his life, and got a chance to beat his old team. Really came out and, in the beginning, things were a little slow, but he really picked it up. And down the stretch, it was back and forward, in that third quarter and on into the fourth, where he got loose and really just, he was on point. He was making every pass. He was hitting guys, St. Brown, I don't think any of us would have thought that Jared Goff would be in this position right now. After he got traded by the Rams, I thought the guy was going to be a backup quarterback, man. So that's kind of where my mind was. But kudos to him for kudos to him and the Lions for getting it done. And we also can't forget the Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. He was balling. I mean, outside of that last pass,
Three
I mean,
319 yards, man. Like
yeah,
he
he
was
was balling.
slinging that thing today.
He
A
was
little too
balling.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, he was balling, and he was he three like you said 349 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. That last one was that was the end of the game, but I mean he did not sit down when it looked like Detroit had ran away in the fourth. He came back with another TD. And then the game was right there. They had an opportunity to get down the field again. So the Bucks kept fighting until the bitter end, and I'm curious to see if Tampa decides to stick with Mayfield going into next year, because I don't know if Mike Evans will be back. This team is definitely going to change, but I'll be curious to see what happens with Baker Mayfield's career going forward, man.
I think Baker Mayfield has earned that spot to start in Tampa Bay here, especially with these last two playoff performances, one against the defending NFC champions, and then
Yeah,
obviously going on the road and having the performance like he did. I mean, look, two interceptions during the game. You put a lot on him to throw the ball. The guy threw it for
yeah, he
41
threw a lot.
times
Yeah,
in the playoff game, and so there was a lot of trust in Baker Mayfield today here, and he earned that trust from the Tampa Bay offense here. So I think they got to give him another chance to start, and especially playing in a division where it's really not the best division to say.
oh
This can
yeah,
help get him back on track in his career here. The other guy we haven't mentioned that balled out was Mike Evans. Dude,
yeah, he
eight
did.
catches for 147 yards. That man was on target to say the least here. So, but to the Lions, we are. It's very nice to see this city thrive with their sports team because, like you said, Detroit is giving them nothing. Detroit Pistons are asking Wingstop to give away wings when they win games, to say the least. Here, you know what I'm saying? The Detroit Tigers aren't playing good baseball as well. So to have the Lions doing what they're doing here, but let's not forget Jared Goff isn't that far away from taking the Rams to the Super Bowl and losing to the Patriots
Exactly. Yep.
by by a touchdown. So a lot was written off on him, but he's not. He's only, I think, maybe 8 years removed from being in the Super Bowl, and
Yeah.
he is a really good quarterback. I just don't think the system with the Rams wasn't really working for him compared to how it is working for Matthew Stafford here. But there's something to say about the coach who's really installed confidence, who's really installed a blue collar mentality in a blue collar state with the Detroit Lions. And that's why you're just seeing such grit from these guys here, knowing that they're done with the losing, they're done with the paper bags.
Right.
They're trying to, what is it, as T.O. would say, or who's the rapper from Cash Money? Big
Baby.
timer.
Baby.
Put some respect
Yeah,
on my
baby.
name.
Put some
Is it
respect.
baby?
Yep.
Ah, man, whatever. He was acting like a baby during that interview, to say the least. But
and the guy
I,
you're referencing is Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell.
Dan Campbell,
Yeah.
yeah, and you know what? And for him to be part of those really bad Lions years, and for him to want to
Yeah.
come in and change that
Yeah.
culture as well,
That's big.
they have every opportunity to win this NFC Championship game here, and this is how they're going to do it. The Niners give up a lot of rushing yards. They gave up a lot to Aaron Jones yesterday,
Mm.
and the Lions have two really good running backs, as we stated, David Montgomery as well as Jameer Gibbs, who's a rookie,
Yeah.
and had 74 yards today in a playoff game, and his biggest run was for 31. If they can do that, this will expose Mr. Thomas for the San Francisco 49ers. Because if Detroit was smart, they would get Amon-Ra St. Brown on Thomas and just go with it there because Thomas cannot defend the deep ball here. The Lions have to cash in on every single opportunity that Green Bay didn't. And what that means is by getting points and at any cost here. If that means a field goal, you have to continuously put points on the board because it could turn into a shootout with that Niner offense here, who we all know is deadly.
Yeah.
And so they can't take wasted opportunities once they're inside of the 30. If you've got the opportunity for a field goal, take it. he's a very big fourth down go getter. But
Yeah,
in a
he
game
is.
like
Yeah.
this, you got to go get your points here.
Yeah, I think Dan Campbell is going to go on every fourth down imaginable, man. That's what they've been doing since the entire
Yeah,
season. It's just who they are, and going into this game, they are going to have to get their run game going for sure because you know as much as well as Jared Goff has played, he is a statue, folks. He's not. He gets up and run. He
he's
runs now and
yeah,
again, but he's one of those guys. He's not able to move around a whole lot, and so if you're going to pin your ear, they can pin their ears back with Chase Young. We're talking about the Niners, Chase Young and Bosa, and get to the quarterback at will if they're going to be throwing the ball 50 times. So it's going to be extremely important. And keep in mind, Jahmyr Gibbs only had 9 carries this game. That's going to have to go up.
yes,
That's going to have to go way up. So the Detroit threw the ball 43 times. They ran the ball about 19 times. They're going to have to run that ball a little bit more so that they can give Jared Goff the time by keeping the 49ers defense honest to throw that ball. The other thing the 49ers are going to have to look out for is Laporta. Now, they have some of the better linebackers in the game, especially in
yeah,
Fred Warner. But, being able defending good tight ends in space is not always something that linebackers are capable of doing. So he's the guy that's picking up those 5-6 yard, receptions that keep drives moving. And the Niners are going to have to figure out a way to either, to put pressure on Jared Goff, enough pressure on Goff, so that he doesn't have as much time to get the ball over the middle of the field, because that's what they were doing today. It was all about getting the ball over the middle. It was Laporta, St. Brown, whomever. They wanted to get the ball over the middle of the field. Goff was not making any mistakes by trying to force the ball. He was okay with dumping it off to the tight end, dumping it off to the running back for short gains. He was making the correct play every time. And so if he's going to play that way, you're not necessarily going to be able to capitalize on mistakes. So you're going to have to find a way to make sure that when guys do catch the ball, they go down immediately, and to make sure they just somehow get Jared Goff on his butt. Detroit has a pretty good offensive line, but you got to figure out a way to get him get some hurries on Goff so you can make him uneasy in the pocket.
yeah, and that's going to be, I think, a big challenge for the Lions to say is protecting Goff here
Yeah,
and finding a way to use Sam Laporta not as much as a deep threat, but as far as a safety check for Jared Goff. Because to be quite honest, he's not George Kittle, so you're gonna have to find a way to utilize him in those 5 yards here. Because at 2nd and 5, I think that's where Sam Laporta will be his most at his best, to say the least. Here,
right.
going downfield. I think Fred Warner and Greenlaw will kind of maintain that. But if he could find a soft spot in that zone where he could make it a 3rd and short or give him that first down, I think that's where he's going to be more useful here. And just adding to the run game here, it's going to be very hard. I think this is going to be Laporta's biggest challenge. But if he just needs to be a 5 yard tight end,
Yeah.
5 yard tight end, and a really good blocking tight end to open up that running game, he should have a pretty significant game here.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and obviously the Lions are in a circumstance they've never been in before, but their quarterback has been in a situation like this before, so they do have some vets there to kind of help guide them. The 49ers, on the other hand, have been they've been sniffing around the Super Bowl for a few years now, so
They have been.
this is their opportunity to get over the hump because you know, Brock Purdy looked good. Well, at the very end of the last game, didn't look good earlier on, to be honest, but picked it up and made the plays they needed to win the game. But yeah, you're gonna want to tighten that stuff up. You aren't gonna want to play the same game you did against Green Bay against the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, you can't flirt with destiny like that again here,
Yeah, yeah,
because it took a fourth quarter drive, which was, for Brock Purdy, that was big in the playoffs here, because again, these are things that he's writing off as he makes those progressions on being a top quarterback in this league here. So,
right,
but those kind of starts cannot happen again,
yeah,
because you may find yourself down big, because if the Lions capitalize on missed opportunities by the Niners, that score could get up fairly quickly here. Um, but the Lions defense has got a lot a lot to handle here. It's going to be interesting if Debo Samuel plays this game, especially coming off of that shoulder injury
Yeah.
that he suffered yesterday.
Right. Yeah.
But again, just as the Lions have a Monrod, the 49ers countered with Brandon Ayuk. And so that's a man who is I think a little dangerous than Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I think the biggest X factor will be Christian McCaffrey. What are you willing to give up defensively to
Yeah.
try to keep the Niners at bay? Do you want to try to put all your efforts into stopping the running game and turning Brock Purdy into about 30 to 40 throws? Or are you going to allow the running game to take place and so Brock Purdy doesn't have an opportunity to throw? They're gonna. It's a tough thing to try to decide there.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you're a Lions fan.
I think you got to take away the run game for sure. Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, but there are very few circumstances where we've seen him throw the ball 40, 50 times a game. He's gonna be a benefactor of what McCaffrey can do on the ground. You saw it in the last game. McCaffrey had the TD run, 30 yards. He's a guy that could break a play at any moment. And when you got somebody like that in the backfield, it's going to be a lot easier for you to throw the ball around because folks have to pay attention to him, both in the run and in the passing game. So yeah, man, we'll see. It should be an interesting game. Again, I'm looking forward to it. The games today were awesome.
They were.
And then the Niner game, the only dud was the Texans game, and even then, the game was close the first half. So I mean, I'm looking forward to more football. I hope both these games go down to the wire, and give us some drama going into it. I know Niner fans are probably like, yeah, no, that's not what we want to see. But for instance, as a casual football fan, yeah, I want to see guys have to make plays in tough situations to win. And just like we saw today with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, man, you want to see guys show up when it counts the most. So I'm for it. I can't wait to see it. I'm ready.
Let's talk about the early lines for Championship Sunday. We'll start with the Ravens and the Chiefs. Ravens are opening up as -3.5 favorites in this game here. I think that's a favorable line, but I think that thing is going to move during the week. And then here's another disrespectful line.
Yeah.
The Niners open up as 7-point favorites against the Detroit Lions.
Even after that game last week, I mean yesterday, huh? Is still
even after that game yesterday, they are still touchdown favorites against the Detroit Lions. Again, the Packers took that personal yesterday, and
they were nine and a half, right? 9.5.
9.5 point underdogs, and they turned it into a 3-point winner chicken dinner.
Yeah.
So we'll see how these lines move, especially when you find out the injury reports and who's going to be available here. But I like that line for the Ravens and Chiefs. I think that's a pretty even line. But man, give the Lions a little more respect, man. They finished the season with 12 wins.
Right. Yeah.
Guess who else finished the season with 12 wins?
Yeah, the Niners.
The Niners.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Man, that's so. They put a little respect on Detroit, man. They ran through. They won big games this year. They lost some bad ones, but the Niners did the exact same thing here. So, I expect that -7 to go down significantly for the Lions and Niner game here. But that's gonna be the primetime game. The NFC will own the primetime membership for Sunday. So,
oh man, do I need to get my Peacock membership going?
Oh my god, dude! I'm surprised they're not trying to charge for Championship Sunday, man. Like, dude, I hope they never do that again,
Pay-per-view.
Man. That was outrageous.
Exactly, man. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was. Let's get caught up in the chat. We got anybody? We got Mama Verdi. Good evening, boys.
She said hello.
How you doing?
I think Friday night pick'em dummies would be quick because we only got 2 games to choose from. To say the least here.
Fast. Yeah. And we're gonna try not to make it personal, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but most of the time, B's going, I might let him pick the Niner game this time.
I'm taking the Niner game. I'm not touching
the Ravens
game, man.
Yeah, I do the Ravens game.
You can touch that game. I am not even throwing anything towards the Ravens and the Chiefs, to say the least here.
No, I don't blame you.
Yeah, man. I know we talk a lot about the NBA here. There's really, dude, we really don't have much
There's
going
nothing.
on right now.
There's
Like,
nothing to talk about. I mean, the my team's
yeah,
playing against the Portland Trailblazers right now, and they suck. And to be honest with you, folks, things probably won't heat up until we get closer to the trade deadline, because both our
yeah,
teams are in a position to where they have to make a choice if they really want to compete this season, or if they just are going to continue as is and hope for the best. So I don't, yeah, not too much going on. Now you did mention the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles was fired today.
no, no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong.
Oh,
He
was it?
fired the defensive coordinator.
Oh, okay, whatever. Way to place the blame.
I know, right? Way to find someone else to blame except for yourself
Scapegoat.
with those bad calls, man.
Oh my goodness, man. Yeah, man, that team, very, very disappointing. I wouldn't have been surprised if they did fire the head coach, but a lot of that had to do with Jalen Hurts was, pun not intended, but hurt was hurt, and had his finger. So he was injured, and it just wasn't their season, man. They started off so promising during the regular season, and
Yeah,
they just stumbled all the way downhill going into the playoffs.
I
It
don't mind it.
almost
I
reminds
don't
me of
mind that
the
at all, man.
Arizona Card. Remember the Arizona Cardinals that one year with Kyler Murray when they had only lost like maybe one or two games 3 quarters through the season, and then they just
Yeah,
went on a
they fell apart.
they like yeah they went straight sick cocker spaniel and just started pooping and puking all over themselves. It was terrible. So it's just it was bad. So it kind of reminds me of that. Although they've got plenty of talent, and I'm sure they'll be back
Mhm.
next year. But yeah, to be that good most of the season and get knocked off by the Bucks like that, that's not good.
I enjoyed it. I don't know about you.
Of
The,
course you did.
Tara Vanderveer, head coach of the Stanford women basketball team here, and I know this is probably not going to be sound so exciting, but it's monumental because it's happening here in the Bay Area. She has passed Mike. I can't even pronounce this dude's name. Mike Coach K.
Krzyzewski. Yeah,
Gonna
Coach
call him.
K.
I'm just
There
gonna
you
call him
go.
Coach K.
Coach K.
She passed Coach K for the most wins in college basketball history. Not that it is men's and women's here, with 1,203 wins, and she has been a staple for Stanford women's basketball for a very, very long time. So we just want to say congratulations, Coach Tara. Big accomplishment here. Stanford women's basketball has always uh, been a big program to say the least. Here, they've had a lot of good talent come out of there to the WNBA, and I know no one's gonna be like, "Oh, it's the WNBA," but she's put a lot of talent through there. You even see some of the players from her coaching on ESPN with the Abumake sisters,
Yeah, I go.
ESPN
Yeah.
doing NBA Live.
Yep.
Um, Congratulations, Coach Tara, man. Big accomplishment and many more to come. It don't look like she's trying to slow down anytime soon. So good for her.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Coaching is not. It's probably. I'm sure coaching is not easy, right? So especially when you're able to do it for that long. I mean, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we got anything else that was
No, man, it was
pretty
just
exciting?
football today, baby. Just football and a lot of it. If there's anybody in the chat that wants to throw something in there or something they want to talk about, an issue they want to bring up. Maybe they don't like my hair, Rachel. They can say whatever it is that they want. Um,
Oh, dude, you got to go check out Godzilla, January 26th. They're doing it in black and white. It's going to be,
Black
I'm
and
going to go
white.
see it again in black and white. Yes,
Why? Why is it
absolutely,
white?
man.
Really? Huh.
They're paying homage to the 1954 film, the
Okay.
first Godzilla here. So I'm really juiced up for that there. And I don't care what none of y'all say, man. Godzilla was a staple in my household here, still is. Um, I get goosebumps seeing that big ass lizard terrorizing little people here, stepping on them, breathing fire all over them, man. It's dude, there's nothing like it, man. It's so epic.
I still have to see the first. I still got to see it in color,
So
man. So I got to get up. I got to get up on that. B. You've mentioned it a few times, so I got to go and find me a cheap ticket and get it done.
I'm telling you, man. Hey, you know what you should do is go when you pay for your ticket, just click senior discount. They don't check it, they just scan it. How are they gonna know?
We're on live.
Or
Why are
when
you
you,
sharing this with the world here?
I'm
Who
pretty
is
sure Sid and
B?
Mark don't watch us.
Apparently, B is saying to impersonate old people so that you can get discounts. This is what we've come
Mhm.
to.
Hey man, inflation is real in the United States, sir. This stuff is real to say the least. Or just
Very
buy three
real.
kid tickets.
Three.
I'll get away with the kid tickets.
Okay. I don't think I'm getting away with that one, man. They're gonna be like, "Yeah, sir, I'm sorry, but I have noticed that when you go into the movie theater now, nobody pays attention to you. Back in the day, I don't know if
No.
everybody remembers, you used to have to go to the booth with the little, you know, the little speaker thing, and
Yeah.
and order your tickets. They print your little ticket up right there. You go inside, you get checked. Soon as you get to that gate, they rip your ticket so they know that you went, and off you go, right? So the only way
Yep.
you steal a movie is if it was on the same side of the theater, and you had to be careful about it because if it was a big movie, they actually had somebody at the door. There was a line, you know. So it was different back now, dude.
Oh yeah.
I went to the movie with the kids. I just go in there, I scan my QR code, and then we buy our popcorn. There's not even anybody manning the gate. The little the little gate to get
Yep.
to the doors, like you just walk through, and it's like, well, how do you, they don't even care anymore. They don't even they don't even print your ticket, nothing like that. They just say it's
No.
down over there to the right, and then you just go on about your business. So yeah, you're probably right, B. You probably just walk in there and say, yeah, yeah, I'm here.
Telling
I
you.
can go see whatever movie I want. I could just sit here and go see 3 movies if I wanted to be here all day because nobody's gonna pay any attention to me.
Damn. So now that you bring that up, remember the nostalgia that we had growing up, where, as you mentioned, going to the movie theaters on a premiere night, having
Yep.
to wait in a line.
In a
There was
line.
no reserved seating.
Yep, that's right.
So you had to make sure that you got to the seat. Otherwise, you were sitting in the front. There was no option. If you weren't in the seat that you wanted, you were up front. But what about going to like GameStop and when like PlayStation dropped,
Oh, do
or
you
when
remember Funko Land?
yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Yeah, man. I remember you'd have to get there early, wait in line, and you know hope that I think at one point for systems they used to do a ticket system
yeah.
back in the day in order for you to get one. So yeah, it was wild, man. It was wild before the
Hey,
internet controlled everything.
and then when at midnight when games came out, and so you were waiting in line. Can you imagine waiting in line for Madden nowadays
Oh man,
to
you don't
try to
have to.
to try to get
You
that?
could literally press a
Well,
button.
you could
Doot.
download it
Yeah,
now. Yeah,
exactly,
I mean you could
exactly,
download it,
exactly.
but
Now, but
yeah, man, it's a
except for those, well, even you can order them now. But like Jordan, remember Jordans, right? You used to buy a pair of shoes when
yeah.
Jordans come out. You go down to Foot Locker, sit in some stupid line, not even knowing if they were gonna have the shoe or if they had it what size they were gonna have. It didn't even matter really. You'd be like, look, you knew going in you could pick 3 different sizes. Okay, I know I could do a 9.5, a 10, and 10. Okay, cool. So then hopefully they got one of those 3 and I'm good. But now you just go on Nike.com. You know, you just
Yeah.
click and then they just ship it to your
Now that
house.
now all the waiting rooms are online now. All the waiting rooms are
Yeah,
online
that's
now.
right. They
They
are.
I don't know. They 1 year they should bring it back to make everyone wait their asses in line at the
I hope
store
nobody's signing up for that, man.
just to get those new Jordans or like Call of Duty stuff like that there. That would be that I don't know. I would enjoy the nostalgia. Will I be out there? Probably not because
No.
I need to be in bed by like 10 p.m.,
Yeah, yeah.
man.
Sorry.
Can't be out past midnight.
Sorry, Michael.
Can't be
Sorry,
doing that.
Jordan. You don't play anymore, so I'm not gonna put
Oh,
that
he
much
ain't
on
never
you.
he ain't never got a dime of my money. I never bought one pair of Jordans before.
Not one.
Never saw the hype behind it, man. I
Yeah.
just couldn't.
Well,
But
you didn't miss anything except for a big old hole in your pocket. That's pretty much what it came out to.
you know what cracks me up the most is that the people walk around and don't want to crease their shoes.
Oh
And,
yeah,
and they step differently, like they're just like high topping it like this,
man.
just so they don't get their Jordans dirty.
It's
You know, I'm
undersupported.
like, why are you buying a shoe if that's the case? Go
Right.
put it in a case and then sell it later.
Right.
Like that's all I could imagine, to say the least here. So
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't. And nowadays the kids they're just taking the shoes and or the not the kids, the grown ups are taking the shoes and just putting them in some case somewhere, sitting it in a room. So,
It's like a collectible,
yeah,
which I
exactly,
get.
exactly.
If you want to collect it, that's one thing. But if you're gonna walk and not expect to crease your shoes at some point, like you're not supposed to step forward. You're just supposed to lift your leg and hopefully it goes forward. Like
Yeah,
what are you thinking?
right, exactly. What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
So,
Yep. All
anything
right. Well,
else?
let's check the
I
chat.
think that's
We
it.
got Mama Birdie telling us, "Oh, good show. Have a good week. Thank you. Thank you." No, man, that's all we got until next week. We're looking at the championship round, so I'm ready and juiced up for it. We'll be back on Friday with Pick'em Dummies. We'll be picking 2 games because there's only 2 left, and
Yeah.
give our feedback on what we think will happen. And yeah, so if anybody, if this is your first time listening to us, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification button, slap all 3. We appreciate it. And yeah, that's it. B, you got anything else?
Hey man, have a good week. Everybody who watches this, have a good week as well. I'm just kind of trying to get excited to watch Warriors basketball. It's going to be a little different knowing that this team is going through a lot,
Terrible.
but at least they're going to be on the TV, man. But hopefully this kind of turns everything around for them. So, but yeah, man, have a good week. Let's get it. Championship Sunday. I cannot wait.
I'm telling you, let's do it. All right, y'all.
Yes, sir.
Peace.